Okay, good morning, everyone. So, this is a makeshift recording due to the challenge we had in class yesterday. Our network failed at some point, and so we lost the recording. So, I have resolved to do this today so we can have something to watch. Here on this list is what we tried to achieve yesterday, and that's what we are going to do again in this video. For the benefit of doubt, we'll try and install Windows client on our virtual box, and these are the things we're going to do to achieve that. We'll download Windows client, we'll create another virtual machine on the virtual board, and then we'll load the Windows client we downloaded here on our virtual machine. I'll also show you how to maximize your virtual machine, and then we'll rename the client. When we are done with this first part, we'll now come and join the virtual machines together so they can communicate. The two virtual machines we have are the server which we have promoted to the domain controller, and then the client machine. And what we are going to do here is I'll show you where to see the IP addresses or where you can manipulate it. Then I'll show you how to enable the Ethernet card on the domain controller and on the client machines respectively. I'll also show you how to check the IP address of your virtual machines, and then we'll go ahead and assign IP address manually. When we get here, I'll do better explanation, and then we'll join the client to the domain. Thereafter, we'll create new users on the domain. So let's get to work. This is my virtual box. The first thing we're going to do here is we want to create a new virtual machine which is going to serve as our client. Let us assume that currently we have the server running. Let me power down the client we worked with yesterday. Okay, while that is powering down, let us come and create a new client. How we do that you already know. You come to new, the name you want your client to bear. Let's say new client. Our OS is Windows, and the version is Windows 10 64-bit. Next, I want it to have 1 gig for RAM size. Remember, if you have enough resources, if your RAM is about 8 gig and above, you can afford to give the RAM size of your machine 2 gig so that it won't hang. All these ones I think we already know. Dynamically allocated. Let me give it say 35 gig. That's the minimum hard drive size your machine should have. Create. So now we have created a new client. The next thing we're going to do is to go and download the client. I told us that to do that, you open your Google, and then from Google you type Windows 10 client evaluation. These two links, try Windows 10 Enterprise and Microsoft Evaluation Center, will lead you to the same place. So let us pick one. Remember, it is from Microsoft. Don't use any other link. If it is not Microsoft, then you might run into trouble. We're waiting for it to load. Look at it, Windows 10 Enterprise. Initially this might not be expanded. Alright, it could be like this. So you come down, you expand it, Windows 10 Enterprise, you click on, you check ISO Enterprise, please, not ISO LTSC, ISO Enterprise. You click continue, you fill all the necessary things you should fill here. Your job title, DevOps engineer, work mail, your phone number, your region is Nigeria, and then you continue. It's going to ask you, please select your platform, 64-bit for your PC, your language is English, and then you say download. Right, look at it here, mine is downloading at this point, but because I already have it, I'm going to stop this download, then we assume it has completely downloaded. Next we'll go to our virtual box. Now we want to load the Microsoft Windows 10 that we just downloaded on our new client. Our new our virtual machine here is a client machine, not a server, please. So the next is we start this machine. I know some of you already know this, I just don't want to sorry. Okay, you click this folder, and then normally you should click add. When you click add, it will take you to wherever you saved that download. My own download is here, and this is it. Say open. When you say open, you click on it, you choose, and then you click start. So right now we are in the process of installing our Windows client on our virtual machine. Okay, so this is where we were delayed a lot yesterday, and if that is going to happen here now, so that the video does not get unnecessarily long, I'll be pausing this video and resume the recording accordingly. So this is the first window. Dialog is asking us which language to install. Of course it is English. Time and current and currency format still English. Keyboard input method English. We say next, and then you install. Alright, so as I was saying, if the setup will take time, there will not be need to necessarily make the video long. So I'll just pause the video and then resume the recording when it's necessary. I accept the terms. Next is a new installation, and Windows only is what I want. I pick custom, I say next. So installation has started. Let us look at, we have downloaded the Windows client, we have created another virtual machine on the virtual board. This is where we are now. So I think we can color code this. Let's give it green. That's not clear enough. Alright, so this is where we are now, people. We are in the process of loading Windows on the virtual machine, or another better word is install Windows on the virtual machine, and that's what we are doing currently. So you see, it normally takes time, so I'll pause, but there's no need to doubt. Before I continue, before I do anything, I'll resume the video so you can follow the process. Alright, I'll see you soon. I'm pausing the recording now. Okay, so just as I promised that I'll be returning to resume the video at every point in time so that you won't miss any vital part of the installation process. Our files is almost ready, 98%. So apparently, because the system was connected to the internet yesterday and I was hosting you guys on the Zoom platform, that's why the installation took so long. Well, and let's also agree that the capacity of your host as well also determines how well your programs will perform. So yeah, 99%. Once it passes this stage, I might have to pause again for it to do this, installing features, installing updates, finishing up. Right, but there's no reason to worry. You're not going to miss any pop-up at all, because I really want you to capture this and know for sure that installation might take time, but it is not a big deal. Alright, so I'm gonna pause the video again and then I'll resume when needed. So we have passed through the first point in the installation process. The installation is still on, but it has done all the checking for files and finishing up that you saw earlier, and this is still part of the installation. So let's follow it patiently. All right. We are still here. Install the Windows client on virtual machine. So we advise that when you're doing your own installation, if you have downloaded the right file, you disconnect your host from internet so it can be fast. Otherwise, at this point, installation might attempt to go online to be able to connect with the source and see if there are updates. Okay, so I think I might, let's see where we will need to pause again or to just hold on for it. Okay, we are closer. Let me just check if our video is recording. Oh yes, we are 14 minutes on. So you might be hearing music in the background. It is not coming from my room. I'm currently on field, and so someone is enjoying himself in his own room and thinks that by fire by force we must share in that enjoyment. So please pardon the background. Let me see. So after the installation, what will show us is how to maximize this space here and this space here and here. There's no need for them, so that we won't have to be scrolling up and down to see the full length of our machine screen. We're going to maximize it, right? So I might have to pause the video again so that this stage can pass, and then I'll resume when there is any other important pop-up. Alright guys, I'm pausing now. Alright, here we are. Let's start with the region. United States, yes. Okay, the keyboard layout, US style, yes. Want to add a second keyboard layout? There's no need for it, so let's skip. So like I advised earlier, if you have downloaded the right Windows client, which is Windows 10 Enterprise, at this point you can disconnect your PC from the internet source. Either you are using a modem, or you are using a Wi-Fi, or you are using a cable. Disconnect it so that your installation can go smoothly. Alright, so far so good. We have not encountered any challenge, and we are not anticipating any. Okay, so installation is trying to connect our machine to a network. To finish setup, you need to connect to the internet, but I don't want to do that. I don't need this to connect to the internet. So at some point here, it's going to tell me failed, and then I'll just skip. So one of the reasons of connecting to the internet here is it might now ask me if I have an internet connection on this machine, and if it's able to connect to the internet, it might be asking for passcode or passkey to activate this OS, but I don't need that. So once it tries to connect and it's not able to connect now, it's going to return a failure note, and I'll just skip. So these are things that you should anticipate while you are doing your own installation as well. Okay. So network, no internet. So I expect it to proceed since I've chosen I don't have internet. So let's see what that would do next. Okay. So now you see there is more to discover when you connect to internet, but I don't need that. If I have internet I would have said connect now, but I don't want it, so I'll just say continue with limited setup. Okay, so everything is just to make me connect to the internet, but like I said, we don't need that now. In a live production environment, you may have to connect to internet. However, it depends on what you want to achieve in your organization. So let's move ahead. Who is going to use this PC? Let's call the person Ethan client 1. Next, the password. Let's give the person Ethan 2021 exclamation mark. So remember, your password must have one uppercase, must have a special character, and it must be alphanumeric. Next, confirm the password item 2021 exclamation mark. I called out my password because this is training, but in real life production your password remains what it is. Password, it should be something that only you guys within the IT department know about. So you answer the security questions. Okay. So our installation is almost completed. All right. So like I said to us in class yesterday, it's unfortunate that we lost that recording. So far there is no place or at any point have we been asked to use our Gmail or Hotmail or any sign-in. Alright, so the privacy settings for my device, you accept it and you move ahead. Okay, do you do more across devices with activity history? These ones, either you pick yes or no, just it does not really affect your installation, but it will do you well to read before you pick any option. Alright, do I need Cortana to help me? Well, I accept help of Cortana even though I might not need it, but it's better I have it here and I don't have a use for it yet than I need it and I don't have it. If you are to be loading this OS on your host, of course you're going to need Cortana help. It helps you to do a quick search. Alright, hi, we're getting everything ready for you. So we almost come to the end of installing our Windows client on Windows Enterprise, right, on our virtual machine, which is our client. Let us quickly refresh our memory that we have two machines, the server and the client. You can have more than one server doing different things, but in this class we are using just one server. When there is need for another server, we'll spin up another one, and you can have as many clients as possible. As we have used examples during the past classes, that your client is what most of you are used to in your corporate offices, in banks, in insurance offices, those in marketing, the HR. The desktop in front of you is running on client and it is connected to the server, and that's why some of the things you can do are limited, and it's also why some of the things you can do are permitted. From the server, they can control your activities, they can check what you are doing with the company resources in front of you, and everything you are doing is also being logged. When I say logging, it's keeping record per time of what you do, some emails, your activity on the internet, on your client generally, right? So leave everything to us. At this point, I'm going to pause again so that we don't unnecessarily elongate the video. Like I said, I will always resume the recording when there is any new screen, new development. The network is asking if I should allow this PC to be discoverable on this network. I don't want it. I'll say no. So your screen, our desktop screen is up, and what that means is our installation is complete. Alright, but now this scrolling up and down we are doing is unnecessary, and that's where we are going to maximize this our machine screen. So let's come to our activity tracker. We have successfully installed Windows client. Alright, what we want to do now is show how to maximize the virtual machine. Okay, just the way we did for our server. Come to device, you come down to insert guest additions, see the image, you click on that. When you click on that, you scroll down, you click on your file explorer, waiting for the file explorer to come up. From file explorer, you click on this PC. Click on this PC. Look at our CD drive VirtualBox here. I'm waiting for it to bring up the original logo. Alright, our CD drive VirtualBox, you open it, you double click. Okay, this is the application we need to be able to maximize the screen of our virtual machine, the home screen. And that application is VirtualBox Windows Addition. It doesn't load properly, that's why you're not seeing this icon clearly. So let's hold on for a while to load. So you see it has changed. So we click on it, we double click, VirtualBox Addition. So it's going to start the installation of the VirtualBox Windows Additions. So among all the things it will do is it will help us to maximize the home screen of our virtual machine. Do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Of course. You pick yes. Then the installation is going to begin soon. Okay, look at it here. Welcome to Oracle Virtual Machine VirtualBox Guest Additions. Next. We've done all this before. It's just for you to refresh your memory. We did it while after we installed our server. Next, install. Is installing. Let me do a quick check if our recording is still on. Oh yes, it is. It's installing right now. Another pop-up, would you like to install this device software? Yes. Install. So like I said earlier, one of the things we'll achieve with this installation is that the empty spaces excuse me, the spaces beside our virtual machine, there won't be need for it again, because we'll be able to maximize the screen, and this scrolling up and down here will also not be needed again, because we would have maximized our screen. So we'll be able to see our screen, feel our matching, feel the screen fully. Okay, so we are done. Do we need to reboot now? Finish. Check reboot now and say finish. So your machine will reboot. Our machine will reboot. So far, I hope you're following this. This video is going to replace the video of what we did in class yesterday. And like I said in class yesterday, setting all these things up, clicking here and there, does not really take time if you know what you are doing. So why it normally takes time in class is because we are explaining. Alright, so it's not a complaint, it just meant that when you're explaining things, time passes. Alright, And the reason why I'm also doing this is so that those that missed the class can have a good understanding of what we did. Also, the recording was lost because of the network itch, and so we are doing this to make it better. So far I've wasted on 35 minutes. All right, your installation might take as much as 1 hour and even more. All right, it seems as though it didn't take as much on this recording because I was pausing the video for the installation to move on as fast as possible. Okay, so all these window things you are seeing, you might not see it on your own. It depends on your video card, how solid it is. So don't expect to see this on your own screen as well. What is important is you understand what you are doing and you know what to expect at the end of what you are doing. Alright, so as you watch this video, if you have questions, write it down and post it on our WhatsApp page so we can address it. Don't wait till next class. Alright, let us resolve issues on WhatsApp page so we can have enough time during the class to cover all the necessary things we need to cover. Okay, so this is it. You observe that it hasn't maximized yet, it hasn't filled all the spaces yet, and we are still scrolling up and down. Don't worry, we're gonna get there. So let's sign in. Control Alt to delete. Item 2021 exclamation mark. Okay, we're waiting for it to sign in, and we are here. So all you need to do at this point is just to toggle this exclamation. Look at my mouse, this maximize screen, toggle it as often as you need for this to expand. You have set the necessary addition for that to take place, so let's keep toggling it now. All right, maximize. I know it's going to maximize sooner or later. So okay, I think it's still setting up, but that's all that you need to do. You've done the necessary thing. It's just to keep clicking the maximize button as often as you need to. Right, okay, wonder why it is still scrolling. We have a notification. Can we see what the notification says? Let's try this again. Okay, I think it's trying to do that now. So finally we have been able to do it. So the important thing is you enabled this addition, which we have done. Alright, so can you see the difference now, people? We have been able to maximize our screen, and you don't need to scroll up and down again. Your taskbar is now open. So let's come to our activity check. Show how to maximize the virtual machine. We've done that. The next is we want to go and rename our client. Okay, so the way you rename on the server is different from how you rename your client. Let me see. Look at my server here. We came to local server and then we clicked on computer name. That's how we renamed our server. But for the client, this is how you rename your client machine. Your file explorer on your taskbar, you click on it. Okay, so you might ask me, why do you have to rename it? So that when you have list of things here, it can help you to know, or even when you're working, you can know which one is which. So you come to your file explorer is up, you right click on this PC, you come down to properties, you right click on the PC and come down to properties. Okay, so the properties are here, and then come to change settings. It comes to change settings. From change settings, you say what's the description you want to give. Let's say, let's name it our client machine. This is not the name. Sorry, this is not the name, this is the computer description, not the name. All right, to change the name, say to rename this computer or change its domain or work group, click change. You come to change, and here we can change the name. Let's call it client item client. Please let there be no space. If there is space, it might not allow you to name it. Item client, you say okay. It will tell us that it's going to restart. That's okay to restart. Say okay as well. You apply and then restart now. So gradually we are getting it. Let's check our log. So we've been able to successfully complete the first part. We have now renamed our client. When our machine is up, we'll now join the two virtual machines together. So basically what we want to do here is join the client to the domain. Remember from the second class that our domain is item.com. That happened when we promoted our server to a domain controller. So let's go and look what is happening here. It is restarting. Okay, we're in good ends. So while that is happening, let me just share one or two things with us. To machines on the network virtual machines or devices on a network are able to communicate with one another because they have a special number called IP address, Internet Protocol address. Without an IP address, they will not be able to communicate. Alright, and there's a server called DHCP server. Remember when we were promoting our server to become a domain controller, one of the 3 things we enabled is DHCP, the one you have here. Let me go to my dashboard. This is it. It's called Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. It is what helps you to assign IP address to machines on the network automatically. You wouldn't have to do it yourself. It assigns it automatically. Alright, and it is with that IP address that the server is able to interact with all other clients on it. It is also with the IP address that the clients are able to interact among themselves or even with the domain controller. So basically you need 3 things to create a network. You need the network interface card, which is called the Ethernet. Right, it's called the Ethernet. I will show you. You need IP address, which I just described, and you also need the DHCP server, which helps you to automatically assign IP addresses. When these 3 things are in place, you can now configure them to see one another. So now that our system is up, sign in, keyboard Control to delete. So I want you to observe something. This is just a client machine. It has not been joined to any domain, and so the only source of signing in that you have here is 1. By the time we join it to a domain, you will now see that it can give you allowance to either sign in as a local user or as a domain user. So please take note of that. Okay. Alright, so let us begin. Where to see or enter IP addresses. Okay, this is our server, which is now our domain controller, your DomCon. Let's see where we can enter IP address, or we can see or manipulate IP address here. You come to local server, scroll up, see Ethernet here, click on it. When you click on it, see your Ethernet card. You right click and you say properties. Come to the 4th item on the list, Internet Protocol version 4. You say properties. Here it is set to obtain an IP address automatically, obtain DNS server address automatically. This automatically here is what you see your DHCP do, because that's the work of your DHCP, to help you assign IP address to machines on the network automatically. So please, this is how you can see IP address, or you can manipulate IP address. This is one of the ways. So I'm going to pin this one to my taskbar because we have need to come here. Let us go and see how we can see our Ethernet settings on our client machine. It is different from how you see it. You know, this is your desktop here, and this is your desktop on the server. You can observe that they are not the same. So of course, how you go around here is not the same as how you navigate about on your domain controller. So for your client machine, just come to search here and you type Ethernet. If you type Ethernet, it will go and search for anything on Ethernet, either on the system or on the web, but we need the one on the system. We're not concerned with Ethernet on the web. Alright, so let's wait for it to load, and once you see it, it is better that you pin it to your taskbar, because there will be need to come to refer to it. Come to settings, let's check if it will give us here. Alright, Ethernet settings. So you click on this, our Ethernet setting is loading. So for you on your system, what this might be faster, it depends on the resources that you have and how well you assigned, how much you assigned to your virtual machines during creation. So look at it here. You're at Ethernet settings. Where you are going to is change adapter options. You click on change adapter options, and once that point shows, it is better you pin it to your taskbar. Alright, look at it here. Your Ethernet, so do you observe we go here on our domain controller as well? Right click, you right click on it, you come to properties. So you can close this, you no longer need it. You can pin this to your taskbar. Pin to taskbar. Alright. Again, the fourth item on the list, properties. Also see here that the DHCP is working. Here it is set to obtain IP address automatically, obtain DNS server address automatically. So this is how you can navigate. I've just shown us how you can navigate to your IP version 4 properties. Let's go and check where to see IP addresses. We have covered that. Let's move on. How to enable Ethernet card. Okay, so you remember we said that we need 3 things for you to be able to establish network or networking. You need network interface card, you need IP addresses, you need your DHCP server. And then when we promoted our server to domain controller, we have our DHCP server installed, so that one is taken care of. And I just show us where we can see the IP addresses. The next thing is let us go and enable Ethernet card, because these machines, they need Ethernet card to be able to connect or to interact among themselves. How you enable Ethernet card is the same for both of them. You come to machine. I'm on the domain controller now, guys. Machine, settings, you come to network and adapter 1 tab on the network. You drop down attached to host only adapter. Alright, host only adapter. You can expand advanced. Your cable is connected just as you do physically connect cable, and then you say okay. Host only adapter is the right card of Ethernet that can allow machines within the network. Alright, there's another kind of adapter that can allow them to communicate outside the network. So you pick host only adapter and you say okay. Right, we just did for our domain controller. Let us go and do as well for our client. You come to machine settings, right, it comes to network adapter 1 host only adapter. You check your advanced, your cable is connected, you say okay. So what we just did here is enable the Ethernet card on our domain controller and our client. Right, please give me a moment guys, let me use the convenience. I'll be back. So I'm pausing the recording. Alright guys, thank you, I'm back. So now how to check the IP address of our virtual machine is what we want to know. Remember from here we see that we saw that the default setting on our IP version 4 is that it has been set to obtain IP address automatically. So let us go and check what IP address has been assigned automatically to our client and also to our domain controller. How do we do that? You use a command line. So the first thing is you pull up your command prompt, come to search and say CMD. If you type CMD, it comes to your command prompt. I'll say you should pin this also to your taskbar because you'll be working with it. And then you do IP. If you type ipconfig, it means IP configuration, and you enter. Look at the Ethernet card that we assigned. See the IP address that was automatically assigned, 10.02.15 for our domain controller. Let us go and check for our client. Again, you pull up your command prompt, you type CMD, run your command. I also advise you pin this, you pin it to your taskbar. Use your command again, ipconfig, meaning IP configuration. If you say enter, look at the IP address that was automatically assigned at this point. So you have two types of two versions of IP protocol. You have version 6 and version 4. I'm not going to bother you explaining these things because you're not a network person. Let the network people take care of that. But if you need so much, if you need the knowledge for appreciation's sake, you can Google it. Alright, but know that what we will be working with is our IP version 4. For this is the IP address. Now this is one of the things you need to know. Look at the IP address on our client machine, 192.168.56.110, and see the IP address here, 10.02.15. These machines cannot communicate because their IP address network path is different. the IP address here is different from the IP address here. Alright, and that's because this machine is not yet seeing the server, and so the DHCP here cannot work for the one here. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we'll manually assign IP address with the same network path for the two of them, so that they can be able to see each other. So let me do a quick explanation here. Let me insert a table. Right, so IP address are in octets. You have 4 octets for IP address. Say alright, these are 4 octets, and IP address are in classes. You have class A, you have class B, and you have class C. In fact, you have class D and class E, but these 2 classes are for special purpose. The classes you'll be seeing mostly is class ABC. Alright, for class A, the first octet is the network path. Alright, for class A, why the second, 3 and 4th octet is the host path. Alright, I want you to note this because I wouldn't want you to be confused. That's why I'm doing this validation. Now, for class B IP address, the first and second octet represent the network path, okay, why the third and let me just do this once and for all so that you can get it to 3. Okay, so for class A IP address, the first octet represent the network path, while the second, third and fourth octet the host path. For class B IP address, the first and second octet represent the network path, while the third and fourth octet represent the host path. For class C IP address, the first 3 octets represent the network path, while the last octet represent the host path. Network paths on any class of IP address are always constant. So if I'm using class A IP address, alright, all devices on that network, their first octet is the same. Okay, where there will be variables are the last 3 octets, so you can assign different numbers to different devices and machines, but the first part, which is the network path, will be the same. And what that means is, if you have a system and another system on a class A IP address, for them to communicate, Alright, so let me give you an instance. You're coming from southwest, you're coming to southeast. From southwest, it could be Lagos, Ibadan, Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, right? And you're coming to either south-south or southeast. The network path says that there is a route all of you will follow before you now begin to branch. Either you are going to Imo, or you are going to Abia, or you are going to Umaya. Alright, so the network path for people coming from southwest to access southeast and south-south is the Ondo or Benin road. If you are coming by road, you must pass through that path. Alright, so what tells a bus driver that okay, you are going to Port Harcourt coming from Lagos is however he wants to do it, he must first pass through Benin road before you now begin to branch. They say another driver coming from Port Harcourt, sorry, another driver coming from Lagos or Ibadan going to, let's say this time around, Asaba or Warri, must still pass through that. So that's a network path. On any IP address class, a network path is constant, and the reason is that it tells any packet or any information or any data coming, if this is your path that you carry, that means this is where you are going to. Okay, this is a basic explanation. We are still going to treat IP addressing further in other modules, in subsequent modules rather. So how to check IP address of virtual machine, we have done that. I told us where we can use your ipconfig. That's how you check. All right, so let's go back to, so we said that the IP address here is different from the IP address here, and so they are not seeing each other, right? So what we want to do now is edit the IP addresses so they can see each other. Let us begin with our domain controller. Rather than ask it to obtain IP address automatically, we'll say use the following IP address. Let us use 198 1 coming. I want us to use 192 168 120. Okay, so the moment I enter the IP address here, the subnet mask populates itself. Alright, IP addresses are in class, just as I explained here, and each class of IP address have their own ranges. So for class A IP address, it is from 1 to 126. For class B IP address is 128 to 191. Right, these values are for their first octet. So here for class A, you can take value from 1 to 126. For class B, it is 128 to 191, and for class C is from 192 to a value there about that I didn't remember now. All right, and remember I said class 3 IP address, they have the first 3 octets is their network path, which is always constant, and the last octet is the host path, which changes. Now look at 192 and what I put here, 192. I can in fact use 193. It doesn't change the fact that this thing will remain because it is still within the range of class C IP address. So let me use 192, and because it is 192, the machine automatically knows that if it is 192, then it is in class C IP address. So it fixes the first 3 octets from the subnet mask to be constant. So what he's saying is, you cannot, with what you are saying here, he's saying you cannot change the first 3 octets because the first 3 octets represent the network path and they are always constant. Okay, so let's try another class to see if it's going to let us try a class A IP address 1 to 126. So let's pick any value between 1 to 126. Let us pick 100. Okay, let's say 100 101 20 and 23. So do you see, for a class A IP address, it is only making the first octet constant, saying that for all class A IP address, only the first octet represents their network path. The same thing if we do for class B IP address, it will make the first 2 octets constant. So having done that, now let's return back to class and let's pick our IP address. So on a good day, whoever is hosting your server for you, the network guys, they give you the range of IP address you're going to use depending on how large you are as an organization. For organizations with less than 100 employees across, they might work on class C because the host on class C is not many and you don't want to waste money unnecessarily, so they just money and resources, so they just host you on an IP class that can accommodate you. But for organizations that are large, like Microsoft, that are in countries, global organizations like Apple, like Google, they are going to be on like class A IP address or class B because they are large entity. They have many devices on them that needs to be assigned. Okay, and so they wouldn't want to be hosted on an IP class that has limited number of hosts. Let's move ahead. 168, 120, and this. So the default gateway means that any machine within this network trying to connect to outside or to internet must pass through a specific IP. In this case is also our domain controller. So any machine within the itan.com domain that wants to interact with outside network or with internet must come and pass through the domain controller. So it means we are configuring our gateway on our domain controller. Therefore, the IP address of the default gateway will also be the same as our IP. Alright, now the preferred DNS server. So DNS server says that look to resolve anything DNS service. We also want our DNS server to look inside the domain controller for it to resolve anything pertaining to DNS. So we are going to use the localhost 0, 0, 1. Okay, 127 is reserved for localhost. Look at it here. Class A IP address 1 to 126. class B IP address 128 to 191, you will observe that 127 was skipped. So it is a universal law by the IP address committee, right, that let us reserve 127 for local hosts. All right, look at class C IP address. It continued from where class C IP address stopped. The same thing for class D and E. Class D continued from where class C ended, while class E continued from where class D ended. It is only class B that skipped one value, 127, and that's because of the international convention that says 127 refers to the local host itself. So what we are saying here is, for this DNS server, look inside of me when you want to resolve DNS server. And so we are done at this point. We'll say okay. Next we'll go to our client to configure as well. Remember we said they must be on the same network path for them to communicate. 192, 168, 100. The host part changes. It cannot be the same with our domain controller, otherwise there will be conflicting. If this is 20, let's give this one 22 or 21. Okay, again this one remains the same because it is class 3, and we say for class 3, remember the first 3 octets are constant, only the host path changes. So for default gateway, like I explained in class 2, gateway says if you need to communicate with internet outside, go through this gate. Now we want all devices, all machines on this our network, on this our domain ipconfig.com, to pass through the domain controller if they want to interact with outside world. Therefore our default gateway will pick the address of the domain controller, 192, 168, 120. all right, the same thing as DNS. Any machine that wants to resolve any DNS service, please refer to the default gateway as well. In live production, in production environment, I mean real life, your host, the server hosting your domain, might say, okay, for your gateway I've configured something special on the router, so use that. And again, they might also have another server that is hosting your DNS, so you use that. But for the purpose of this training, we are saying the entrance outside or into the city is at the flat of our domain controller. So wherever you are in the city and you want to go out of the city has been fenced around and the gate is in front of the domain controller, so go and pass through domain controller. That is why we are using the domain controller's IP for default gateway. So no matter the number of machines, devices we have on this network, on this domain, their default gateway will bear this. all right. And again, we are saying that for anything DNS, go and meet the domain controller to resolve it for you. And right now we have configured the IP version 4 of our server and that of our client and that of our server to bear the same network path. So we expect that they will be communicating now. Alright, let's check our log. We have assigned how to check IP address, we've done that. We have assigned IP address manually, we've done that. Now I want to join Okay, let's check for communication. Now, how do you check for communication? You ping from the internet server, you ping the client that you want to check if that client can read from you. Also from the client, you'll be like, you are in your office, you're able to connect to the internet or do one or two things. And then the person in the server room will say, ping me, let me see if you are receiving packets from me. Alright, pinging is just to see if a communication path has been established. So let's start with the client pinging the server. How do you ping? You just say ping. What is the IP address? 192.168.100.20. This is the IP address of the domain controller. Okay, it says that ping transmit field. Alright, let's come here. Okay, let me say okay here, right? Close. From here, close. So from our server, let us also ping. I'm coming ipconfig to see. Okay, so see that the IP address here has changed. 192.168.100.20. Let's check also the IP address here. Okay, 192.168.100.22, 192.168.100.20. So from here, let us ping the client. Request timed out. It's not saying anything. That means it cannot communicate. Let's come here also. Let's ping the server. Okay, so what we see here is that reply from 192 byte 22, time less than 1 microseconds. Okay, so here the client is able to ping the server. That means the client is able, receives packets from the server, but from the server, when we pinged, it timed out. Let's wait for it. Timed out. So it means the server is not able to read from the client, which is expected. The server has its firewall on. Sorry, the client has its firewall on, and that is why the server is not able to communicate with it. There are many ways around it. Seeing that they are on the same network path, the two machines are seeing each other. I can assure you of that, right? But for the purpose of this class, of this training, I will show you that they are able to read each other. So what I want to do is I come to the client and I will go to the firewall settings. I come to search. I type firewall here. firewall network and protection. So we have explained what firewall is. As the name implies, it protects intruders, unwanted access to your device or to your network. Okay, so if I bring down the firewall here, I'll be able to ping. Alright, but in production environment, please don't take down your network firewall. You are exposing yourself. It is risky. It is a punishable offense within any organization to bring down the security of the devices within the network, or even security of the network itself. But so I can show you that these two machines are communicating is why I want to show you this. So this public network, I'll turn it off now. Alright, I expect to be warned that what I'm about to do is dangerous. Yes, so I've turned it off. See, your device may be vulnerable. Okay, so let me come back to server and let me ping the client. Can you see that I'm receiving packets now when I ping the client? Alright, so the two are able to communicate right now. From the domain controller, I ping the client, and from the client, I pinged the domain controller. Alright, so let's see where we are. We have checked for communication. Alright, what we want to do next now is join the two machines together. Alright, we want to join the two machines together. I want to ensure I can close this, I can close this, I can close this. Let's have some orderliness here. I can close this. Right now, I want to ensure that this client is able to function inside the domain. So I'm going to join this client to the domain here, and the domain, the server here is the domain controller. So this is where I begin the task from the client, because this is the one that wants to join to the domain. How do you do that? Please follow me carefully from your file explorer. Alright, I read to us when we wanted to change the name of our client. That's where we are going again. That's where we can join our client to the domain. From your file explorer, you right click on this PC and you click on properties. Okay, we wait for our property to load. Okay, so like I said, as you watch this video, do you have any questions or clarification? Write them down. After the video, you put them on our WhatsApp page so we address them. We come to change settings. Okay, we are able to join this machine together because we have established that they are communicating. Alright, see, to rename this computer or change its domain or work group, click change. So you click change here. This is where we are going. Okay, work group is for Soho, domain is for enterprise. So you click on domain. What is our domain name? I'm sure you remember from second class when we promoted our server to domain controller and we created a forest and we say the name of the domain is what? ipconfig.com. Your organization, your domain name might be uba.com or guinness.com, whichever domain name your organization bears. You say okay, and what is happening now is this client is now trying to look around. All right, computer name and domain changes. Enter the name and password of an account with permission to join the domain. What's our username? You are an administrator from that domain. All right, because that's the name, the username here. Remember when you want to sign in here, what you see is ipconfig/administrator, and then the password of the domain controller. Okay, because this is the effort that helps to authenticate that okay, this person that wants to sign into this domain is the right person. Administrator, and the password, you remember your own password, you enter it and you say okay. Right, let me confirm our recording is still on. We have done 1 hour 30 minutes. Oh, look at it, people. Welcome to ipconfig.com domain. You say okay. The system will ask for restart. No problem, restart. Okay, so we are waiting now for the system to restart. Restart now. Okay, so at this point the sign in would have, the login screen changes, so you can either log in as a local user or a domain user. So when the login screen comes up, you're going to see how you can log in as a domain user. Remember that on our domain, the user that exists on our domain now, for now, is the administrator. We have not created any user. Remember that, right? So that's what we are going to do now. You're going to log in with your administrator login details here, just to ensure that it has communicated, and then we can now go to our domain controller and create users. But in real sense, right, you're not supposed to log in with your administrator details on the client machine. It is not a good practice. What you're supposed to do is to create user first from your domain controller, the server, then you give it to whoever needs it to come and log in. So in the scenario of you being the network administrator, the IT officer in your organization, and you have a new joiner, maybe someone just joined the organization, say the quality control officer, or you have another sales rep, okay, and then the head of the organization, the GM or the HR, says please look at the person's name and this person's full name, create a user ID for him on the company's network domain so the person can operate from his or her own desk. You as the network administrator, your ADDC is your office. You go there and create users. All right, our client is up. Input. Oh, okay, we don't need to do that. So look at it. You either sign in as item client 1, which was what we created when we just installed this client. If you sign in as this, you are signing in locally, not in the domain. But we don't need that. We want to sign in into the domain, and our domain is item. Right, this is our NetBIOS name. Our domain is item, and then the username is going. Okay, so I said I'm going to show you how do I sign in to another domain. Look at it. Type domain name, /domain username to sign in to another domain. All right, so what's our domain name? ipn, okay, / what is our domain username? The only user on the domain so far is who? Administrator. Remember I said that this should not be happening in live production or environment. You are supposed to create user for this person and for him to come and log in with his or her own login ID. But for the sake of this training, let's just see it. So yeah, we are signing in as administrator from the client machine. So once it confirms our login details, you see something like hi, welcome, and then it will load our workstation, our desktop, our machine for us to start working. So let's wait patiently. So that's it. Successfully we have logged in. Says we are getting ready for you. So far we've done, let me see, 1 hour 36 minutes. If you have questions, please feel free. Joining client to domain, this is what we just did now. We just did that. Okay, what we are doing next is we're gonna create users. Let's assume that George Olabimi just joined our company, I10, that's the name of our company. So we're going to create a login ID for George Olabimi, so that George Olabimi, as the new product manager, can work from his own station. All right, so this might take several minutes. Don't turn off your PC at this point. I might have to pause the video again so that it won't be long unnecessarily. So I'm pausing right away. All right, so our machine is up. So the difference here, you might not notice it, but that difference is we are logged in into the client machine as an administrator into the domain, not into the local machine. All right, so like I said, it is not appropriate as admin to log in into the client machine, except you have special things to do, all right, to help that client configure his or our own machine. All right, other than that, you can work remotely from the server, the domain controller. Here you can control what's happening. All right, so right now we want to create users. Okay, like I said, George Olabimi just joined our organization, I10 International, and now is going to be our country manager for Nigeria, or country manager for South Africa, or country manager for East Africa together. And so as a country manager for East Africa, let's say his office is in Morocco, and the headquarters of our company is in, let's say, France. Alright, so the HR from France sends you a mail. Oh, network administrator, how are you doing today? We just employed a new country manager for East Africa. Can you please create a login details for him? What you need to do is to come to your ADDS here. Alright, you come to tools, give me a second please. Alright, tools, then you come down to active directory users and computers. You click on it, active directory users and computer. Okay, so this was the one we used to practice yesterday, which is disabled. Let us delete him so we can practice today. So this is our window for active directory users and computers. You right click, say new what? New computer, new contact, new group, no, new user. If you want to add a new printer to the network, see where you come to. If you're adding a new group to the network, see where you come to. We'll explore these things as time goes on. New user. So what's the first name of the country manager in East Africa? George. His last name Olabimi. And what will the user logon name be? By the policy of the company, will say their logon will be the first letter of their first name dot their full last name, which is their surname, at the company domain.com, at ipconfig.com. So it is g.olabimi at ipconfig.com. Next, the password. Let's see, the password is ipn 2021. Confirm that. ipn 2021. Right, now we say George, as far as East Africa, upon his own first login, he must change the password. I can say his password will never expire, but for security settings, his password will expire. Later in this class, maybe by next week, we're gonna show us how we can manage policies around password. Okay, so we say next. So George full name, this is what I will now send to George. Your full name, your logon ID, j.olabimi at ipconfig.com, and then I will send him the password I used to create this. But on his own first logon, he will change the password to his own password that only him knows. I'll click finish, and that's it. I have created a user logon, a new user for George Olabimi. So now George, sitting in his own glorious office at the sub headquarters of East Africa, maybe in Morocco, or let's say his office is in Tunisia, right? He comes to his system. I'm already logged in into this system as admin, so let me sign out. This is admin. Sign out. Okay. All right, we are gradually drawing close to the end of what we did yesterday. All right? I hope you have been following the class video gradually. Be encouraged to do your own labs. It looks simple here, alright, but until you do your own over and over before you can be sure if it's truly simple or not. Okay, so I'm signed in into i10 domain as an administrator, but I want to sign in into the domain i10 slash what is login ID j.olabimi, right? His password we say that I gave to him i1021 2021. Okay, now remember I checked the box that user will change password upon login. So the password he used initially was the one I gave to him when I sent him the mail. So right now it's saying the user's password must be changed before signing in. So I'll say okay, I like that. After all, I don't want other persons to be able to read what's up in my account. So I come here and I change the password to what only me, I am George now, what only me knows. Password have policies around them. We'll show you subsequent classes, but one of it is your password must not be similar to your username. It must carry alphanumeric, it must carry an uppercase, it must carry a special character. So I've done that. I'll say login. So if it accepts my new password, it has been changed. Okay, so right now I'm not a user, I'm now George Olabimi. Welcome. And so my system is set up. Okay, as simple as that. It looks simple, but in real sense when you begin to do your own, that's when you can comfortably say it's simple enough. You've been able to create new user George Olabimi. For you, I will encourage you, don't create one user, create 2, 3, 4 of them from here, right? And then make them have different things. Okay, in fact, create up to 10, put them in groups. Okay, so from here now you can set authentications, you can set anything for George based on what the head office asks you to do for him. You can reduce his power, you can increase his power of what he can do in his own client machine, right? So if I double click on George now, this is George Olabimi's properties. I can put his telephone number, I can put his email, I can put his web page, I can put his description. Okay, so we say George is the country manager for East Africa. You can put all those things. Okay, so we can say office. His office is a management, is more or less like a management staff. Okay, telephone number if you have it. His email is going to be j.olabimi@i10.com, right? Web page maybe i10.com/j.olabimi, stuff like that. Address of George Olabimi, you know, we say it's going to be in, say, East Africa, so let's send him to Morocco. okay, city and all those ones, account, all right, username. I can say, okay, so if George Olabimi is a manager and I don't want to overwork him, or the policy of the company says all managers, they have put so much effort into building the company, let them not, even if we say they should not overwork themselves, they might choose to. However, we can remotely or set administrative rules to disengage them from work. So I can say log on hours for him is between 8, okay, on Sundays, say on Sundays log on is not permitted for him. On Saturdays he's not allowed to be logged in. So I just say that George is only allowed to work on Monday to Friday. On Sunday, if he logs in, he won't be able to, because I have what, set it out. That's one. So I can say I want him to log in on Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. okay, and once it is 5, okay, deny it. Monday to Friday 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. no, we did not set this right. Let's set it properly. Let's say this is sun, right? This thing here represents sun, so let's say 8 this 8 here, okay, this is it, 8 a.m. Sunday, no, we say we are not allowing him to log in on Sundays and Saturdays, right? Good. 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. What if we say this 7 a.m. to 4, okay, let's say 7 a.m. to 3, 5, okay, 7 a.m. to 5. Let him log in. No, let him not kill himself because he's elderly. Alright, so 7 a.m. on Mondays, right? This is it, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. okay, so that's fair enough for a country manager. So even if you choose, if he's a workaholic and he likes to work, we can set it administratively that once it is this period, okay, so this is saying that Monday to Friday our country manager in East Africa can only log in between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Let him have other time to attend to family, to do work-life balance. I can set that. Alright, I can say account expires. No, we can say, okay, so the country manager, we might be going for cross posting in 3 years time. So let's say this account will end on so date, 3 years time, 2024, right? 2024 2024 July 14. All right, or it might not be even going on sabbatical. It might be that George Olabimi is a temporary staff and is only working with us for 6 months. So that means it is still going to be in 2021 and 6 months is in December. So let's say by end of December 2021, the password, the account expires. He's not able to log in again. So you can see many things you can do on George Olabimi from the server, you as the network administrator. Okay, You can also make George Olabimi member of the group. Currently is a domain user as well. You can say, well, because he's the country manager, we can add him as admin so that he as well can log in as admin and check what all of our employees in East Africa are doing. So you say add the object name, administrators, admin. You check for name, administrators, and you say what? Okay, so it means that George Olabimi is a member of domain, is also what? An admin. Okay, you can even come, say apply, and okay, you can come here and create a new group. All right, give the group name, and the scope of the group, make it global. The group type, make it for distribution. So maybe you can create a group that George, being the country manager, needs to be sending a broadcast message to, let's say, regional heads in East Africa. So you just say create a group for distribution purpose, and when you those other users, you add them to this group from here. So you that is sitting in your office in France as the network administrator, George will now send you a mail. Hey, I don't want to be sending mail one by one to regional heads. Create a group for me so that once I push the mail, or once I push a button from my own end, it goes to everybody in that group. This is where you do it. All right, so these are the things you can do here. You can even disable your account. I think we have come to the end of the class right now. So my word for us is, please do your labs properly. You will observe that we are going higher now, and the clicking is becoming interesting. You don't want to lag behind, you don't want to miss any part. Okay, and it's the reason why I took the effort of redoing this video for us. So please do your labs, practice extensively, delete, install again, load, do anything you can do until you're able to build your confidence. This is how it is in real life as well. All right, okay, good people, thank you for watching, and should you have questions, please put it on our WhatsApp page and our address all concerns. All right, I'll see you in class on Saturday, or I'll also see you on WhatsApp. Bye.